Maps in Valorant are often very hard to understand because of the thousands of ways you can approach them. From attacker-sided defaults being difficult to discern, or defenders struggling to know if they should take aggressive fights. Each map offers a variety of difficult problems you may or may not know the solution to. According to stats from ValorBuff, the meta has changed into an attacker side on every map except Ascent and Split. We wanted to give you an up-to-date strategy guide to help you with ideas to climb. So here are our 3 strategic tips for every map in Valorant. Ascent has historically been defense-sided since its inception, so the attack side has been make or break of many ranked games on how well you understand the map. As an attacker on Ascent, most players will either take B main, mid, or A main to execute into sites. But did you know the way you path as an entry could give more opportunities for a mid-round call? Let's say your team wants to do a B split. Instead of Jet dashing onto Switch to close the market door, you can updraft dash into market instead for an unexpected crunch with your team in mid. This allows you to flank the defenders by going through market who are holding angles on B site. This can catch them off guard and give your team a significant advantage and allow you to rotate into A site from defender spawn, if the kills favor a rotation. This also creates distractions because if you have a teammate pushing onto B site from another angle, going through market can create a distraction and draw defenders' attention away from the other push. This can make it easier for your teammates to take control of the B site. Defaults are also extremely strong on maps with a large midsection. In Valorant, a default is a basic strategy that teams use at the start of a round to gain control of the map and gather information about the enemy team's positions and intentions. The default strategy typically involves splitting the team into different groups and assigning them different areas of the map. Each group will then work to clear out the area, gain information, and take control of key points on the map. The goal of the default strategy is to gain as much map control and information as possible without committing too heavily to one site or area. By doing so, teams can make informed decisions about where to push and how to adapt their strategy based on the enemy team's movements and positions. So, what is a good default for Ascent? Ascent is a very mid-heavy map, so mid control for either team is extremely important. For defenders, a common default in buy rounds is called a 2-1-2 because 2 players take either site and 1 player takes mid for control. Typically, the duelists take center stage in any default since they are the ones making first contact. Here, we are going to use Jet as an example. Jet mains can rejoice since you get to pull up with your operators and arches, or short, for an early numbers advantage in this default. The goal here is to have Jet able to rotate the operator after getting a kill to start in mid, but be prepared as info initiators like Sova or Fade may use utility to clear you out. To adapt to this, have one of the side players stay with you early to break utility for you to fight for your first blood. For attackers, defaults in the mid should be a little bit more stacked compared to the defenders. Since you require more utility to clear angles players like the defending Jet op are holding, we recommend starting with a 1-3-1 default, with your Sentinel and Smokes lurking on opposite sides of the map, holding for pushes and playing safe for information while your Duelists and Initiators take mid space. This is so if you get picks into B market or A short, you have opportunities to take either site. Remember, you don't always have to commit to the first part of the map you get a kill on. With Bind returning to competitive very soon, we figured a refresher would help us get on the right track with our favorite teleporting dream map. This map has historically been defender-sided, but the new teleport may change timings for some of these plays you can do. So best try and test these timings with some friends offline to be sure it stays that way. For this play, you either want to split 2B long and 3 showers, or you can reverse this with 3B long and 2 showers. The basic idea is that you do it in these scenarios. The enemy attackers have been taking showers control for you to grab the ultimate orb consistently. Your team is bonus in close range weapons, and you want to find a fight as 5 for a gamble. Or you have classics and you want to catch the enemy off guard. In all of these fights, the stack for TP or showers depends a lot on your composition. For example, Cypher can leave his cam B site for info even if he TPs, so he would be best on B long with a flash agent like Skye to peek out the teleporter with. You could also have an info initiator throw a dart or eye through TP to get info before the push, so that way you don't have to gamble with it right as the round starts. For showers, a duelist taking first contact would also work to get you that same information with supporting smokes like a pullback star from Astra or a deep brimstone smoke to isolate showers from short with the Brim or Viper. Attack side on Bind can be one of the most difficult maps in Valorant because of how small the chokes are, so defaulting is key in getting the edge on defense. We recommend having a 3-1-1 default or a 1-1-3 default to spread out and get information on the extremities while contesting one of the orbs. Orbs are more important on a map like Bind since there is no midsection of the map, so ultimate executes are essential to win out on your fast hits. When you go for any of those 3 stacked extremities, have an info initiator present so you can clear out enemy defenders from contesting the area. Comboing this with a flash and duelist, you should be able to fight any of these sides of the map with good information on who is fighting for orbs. For the solo players, Sentinels and Smokes are up for grabs. and typically the sentinel is holding 2 lanes at once, so playing for safe info is important. No need to risk yourself dying to get info either, so try and let your utility get information before you do with the dry swing. Something you might see more often in pro play is called a gamble stack. Gamble stacking is when you are putting most of your team except for one player on one site, while the other player solo lurks a site or solo anchors a site depending on your starting side. For bind, choosing either B or A will work for defense, since teleporters are open for use in a fast rotate situation if you gamble wrong. Sentinels like Cypher or KJ are best suited for these types of solo site holds. You cannot expect the same results out of Chamber and Sage. These plays are also risky, so only call for these if you have a strong anchor on the preferred Sentinel roles. Now, before we continue with the rest of these tips, I'd like to quickly tell you that we also offer courses, bootcamps, and coaching over on our website ProGuides.com. There you can get access to everything for just $7.99 a month through our ProGuides subscription, including our brand new course with Ye. Check it out if you're interested. Unique to all the other maps in Function, Fracture has a sandwich design which attackers can crunch sites in strong splits or 4-1 executes. Defenders also have a strong crunch for the north or south ends of the map if they choose to take map control. In the case of Fracture, strategies mainly focus around holding specific areas of the map, or pushing through entirely for the best retakes or site takes possible. According to current data, the map does favor the attacker's side, so keep these tips in mind and have better intuition on both sides. The reason arcade at the B side is so important to both sides is because of the potential for deposits, site control, lurks, and information plays. If the defenders hold at arcade, they have the potential to push underground and north towards the dish for information and plays. This allows an easier retake into A site if lost, because now they play a reverse card of crunching the site from 3 sides at once, with the proper retake from dish, spawn, and A main. Try doing this with 3 players similar in roles to our other push examples. Duelists and initiators would be favored. You can also use a smoke for either taking underground space or holding arcade control to farm the orb as well. For attackers, try pushing with 3 to 4 people early depending on your goals for the round. If your goal is to take B, then 4 stacking into arcade allows you to split into tower and site as 2 separate strong units. If your goal is to set up a lurk or farm the orb, 3 is more than enough to do this. So the player grabbing the orb or the lurker being set up can be safely deposited into position for information. A main is a powerhouse position for defenders since it allows you access into the attacker's spawn. If you plan on taking A main, comboing initiator utility with the duelist that can dive can push either side into a bloodbath scenario, so we recommend splitting from drop instead. If you can get a Raze, Jet, Neon, or Yoru to dive into A main from drop, you can crunch the defenders trying to hold the space. On the other end, defending the space is usually easier if you keep the door open near sand so you have a better angle to swing with your teammates holding a deeper main. And it allows you to push fast into players' A main in case of a dish crunch. Now for spawns, either defender spawn or attacker spawn is great control to cut rotations. This can allow your team a free site depending on the frags that are traded from one another. For attackers, taking defenders spawn from sands is great, but did you know you can crunch from sands and canteen to fight rotators before they can help you out on sites? This is especially good against Brimstone or Breach since they typically will play spawn rotations the most. For defenders, 5-man gambles into B or A main can be beneficial, especially if attackers prefer 5 hitting into sites. In our opinion, stacking B main with 3 players while crunching with 2 in A main is more consistent, since it's less expected and the space you take allows you to rotate underground safely or leave players deposited for information if they are on the north side. Haven as a map has been around since beta, so some tricks have come out over the years that can apply to any agent or team comp that's being played. In our opinion, faking site hits or splitting sites is the best option for attackers since rotations are so short. For defenders, taking space and holding it to pressure attackers is your best bet, especially around key areas like C long, mid, and A lobby. Historically, this has been the most attacker-sided map in the pool. For defenders, this is the best possible play for information on attackers' whereabouts. The reason is because you can hear movement around mid and grass from this area, and you can deny all map control for an A execute, which is arguably the most popular site to 5 hit. And the crossfires are so powerful, the attackers have to use utility to clear this area anytime they want to go into A. If they don't use utility, you can crossfire from multiple different angles, like the right side of the ramp short with Haystack. To take control, you want some sort of initiator utility like Sova Dart or Breach Stun, a smoke deep outside A lobby to deny info, and a duelist who can get out or damage enemies trying to rush A. On any 3-site map, lurkers can create map pressure with little to no utility traded by just getting information on the opposite side of your team's stack. For example, you can see Cyphers lurking in front B or garage a lot because they want to pressure defenders to stay and not rotate for site hits. If you fake A site, for example, while Cypher is lurking garage, instead of him holding defenders, he can take space because of the fake presence your team's utility has given on A site. When you do this properly, a max of 1 anchor player should be present on C site, which should give your Cypher a great timing to climb into somewhere like window or fight him to take C site control, thus allowing your team a free site just from throwing utility A site. While trap setups are strong on any map, they are especially strong on a map like Haven. With 3 sites, a small area, and a whole lot of utility, Riot made Haven perfect for tight, awkward engagements to happen with said utility. For defenders, a great setup you can do is based around A short. If you struggle to keep A lobby control, try putting a KJ turret or Cypher cam above the double stack boxes A short while your breach is sitting in A link. Your breach can stun, then you can swing off the turret or cam for a free kill from top short or close with the judge. For attackers, you can use the same fake strats from before, but instead of faking them pushing the opposite side, hold for flankers that are trying to catch you from behind and set up crossfires around them. As an example, let's say you want to end A site, but you know defenders push past A lobby whenever you go to C. So to bait them into a crossfire setup, you can sacrifice a duelist going into C with a flash, info dart, and a smoke garage. All the while the rest of your team is waiting outside A lobby holding for the fast flank. After they walk into the meat grinder, you should have a free A site with an unexpected fake. As the newest map in the pool, new ways of play are being discovered the more and more it is played throughout the year. Because it is the second map with 3 bomb sites to be released since Haven, some similar concepts apply but in vastly different ways because of the sheer size of Lotus compared to Haven. The trends of attacker side also trail its way into this new map pick. Now I know what you're thinking, didn't Haven just talk about fighting for A lobby? Well, with both maps being focused around 3 bomb sites, certain areas of the map take priority over others. Since the middle section of Lotus isn't really designed as a traditional mid like Haven, control of this area is arguably weaker since the pathing for C and A site is more defender-sided than attacker. This is why fighting for A control is crucial in rotations and control of the map, since it has the best entryway to split into B or a fast rotation into C based around your lurks. Initially, setting up deposits around the A side of the map is ideal since after you break the door for A link, you don't have to commit to any one of the areas on the A side of the map. You just have to pressure it enough to make the defense wary and force players to stay anchored, spread, and easy to pick off. A great form of pressure would be to have your dive characters like Jet, Razor, Omen get over to the other side of the rubble. This will be your spearhead position to break the door for A link. We'd also recommend starting with either a 1-4 with your lurkers posted around C or B, or a 1-1-3 so you can have multiple lurk options for rotations as well as information across the map. Be wary as well when pushing A with a stack, since defenders will also be fighting heavily for this area of the map to deny your push. So don't be afraid to wait out initial utility and holding so you can catch them by surprise when your whole team isn't sitting A main ready to explode. Now that we've talked about the A side of the map and why control here matters, let's talk about the giant revolving door for tree. Yes, this is an easy way to funnel your team into a fade with an Odin, but did you know it's a great vector for faking A site? This all goes back to that idea of taking A map control, pressuring A link, then having either a full execute into the 3 sites or deposit for late round plays. If your team chooses to go B, opening the doors forces the defenders to make a choice. Do we commit bodies or utility here to keep the space and gather information? Or do we give tree control and play further back into A site, allowing potential splits into A to occur, and force us to fight or flight? This is all just off opening one of the doors. So leaving a player to open the door multiple times might give them an even more confusing set of options, or at the very least, stall them from rotating to B or C site where the rest of your team is waiting to push. The same can be done for C doors, just with different pathing ideas. C doors are unique in the sense that they are more defender-sided, since if the defenders take control of these doors early from B site, they have an easy crossfire setup or an easy C site execute. So defenders taking control of B main will allow you to hold down more map space than holding for A doors. But it's also a quick avenue to get counter crunched as well. Here's the main takeaway. Doors on Lotus are the feature Riot has designed to create interesting decisions from either side to feign or take control of a major area of the map. So use them wisely. We talked about the idea behind a B split from A, but how do attackers exploit the most defender-sided site on the map? In our opinion, exploiting C-Link is your best option to throw off defenders from holding the site. The reason is because of the tendencies to stack towards the A side of the map. Most teams on either side will put a lot of bodies to hold these areas while Sentinel, Smokes, or Aupers are anchoring sites like C or B. B is often very strong for Killjoy defenders since she can split utility into C or hold all of B site with the full setup to counter A splits into B or fast rushers that want to go into B as well. So how do you stop this? By pressuring into C-Link, you not only catch a potential Killjoy playing passive around her utility, you can also catch a potential rotator or defender spawn control entirely to split into the C site. A great format for this would be taking C long control with 4 players, with 1 player lurking B. This would set up what would look like a normal C execute. However, 3 of these C long players will be opening the door for B and crunching the B players with the B main lurker. Now these 4 players will be pushing B straight into C link, then allowing the C long player to have a lurk while the party is thrown into C link. Granted, this strategy only works if you have some sort of fast-hitting duelist with a flash following behind them. So don't try this with comps that have no movement abilities or flashbangs to spare. Otherwise, you may be walking into more than you can handle with just your guns to back you up. Pearl has cemented itself as a must-know map in the current state of the game, showing that basic strategy 9 out of 10 times leads to overwhelmingly strong attacker halves. You simply can't afford to ignore these tricks. This attacker-sided nature of Pearl is largely attributed to the verticality advantage attackers have over defenders across the map. As a wise man once said, once you secure the high ground, it's all over, even if you underestimate your enemy's power. While rifle rounds may come easy on a map like Pearl, the real issue comes when the attackers are put into a situation where they have worse weapons, like on bonus rounds or ecos. In these situations, taking control of close areas like A main or ART may seem like the right play at first. But did you know with the right play smokes, you can take connector control from B link with close range weapons? If you place a smoke deep into the choke between the middle area of B link, you can stop any AWPs or rifles from contesting you with a clear line of sight, allowing you to go fast into the connector area to take the closest range fights possible. This also gives you access into ART or sewers, with both areas being key to defense and rotations around the map. Arguably, this area is just as important on buy rounds, but the way you contest it is slightly different. Stacking this area on buy rounds may seem like a good idea, but it can turn into a funnel for the enemy team to win their ecos. So check the economy on both sides before deciding on a play like this. This is best done with all 5 players since you should be on a low buy to go for this type of gamble. This type of execute is one you will most often see on the attack side, because it's very easy to overwhelm the defense side unless they put 5 players into B site. Now I know what you might be asking. I keep dying to defensive jets or chambers when they are AWPing B long. How come this is the case? Most of the time, it's because you or your team aren't coordinating utility to force defenders properly out of long. For example, using a smoke to cross onto the top of ramp to take multiple angles is good, but comboing this with a flash, dart, or knife into sight will force the defending AWPer to either play passive to avoid this utility, or take blind shots where they are easily exposed. This is usually done with 4 players with 1 player on lurk in case things go haywire or a rotator is exposed trying to flank or fight mid. Pace is key when going for a B long execute, so breaking any defending utility or flashing through defending smokes is key in order to take space. Never peek anything without utility, otherwise you will be punished. Backhaul control is a key part of the post plant, not because you need multiple players here, but because having a player in the backhaul area near the long plant can create crossfires or nuisances for defenders retaking the site. Now for defense, a lot of your options to hold passive are usually centered around site anchors and heavy link or ART control. Taking control is one thing, but defaulting it to mid through ART is a sound way to get early information and control of attackers trying to challenge mid lanes. For example, having 3 players pushing ART on defense is better with the duelist taking first contact with an operator, compared to baiting them into 2 supporting teammates in ART ready to fight. It's also nice to smoke one of the common attacker peaks like top mid or shop to allow your AWPer and 2 supports space to push further into mid. You can also set up trap plays around the box in ART. But be warned, these are usually highly predictable, so a great way to change expectations is having 2 players sit behind the box in ART for an unexpected surprise. When doing this, one of the players should peek based on audio or utility in front of the entryway, while the other player stays behind the box. This is a bait setup for attackers to not clear the box after the first player in the setup has peeked, allowing for some cheeky kills to happen in areas they thought were clear. Split is one of the defender-sided maps everyone knows, but the new changes around the close areas in A main, Heaven, and Hell on B site have allowed attackers some breathing room. We hope you aren't claustrophobic around this map, since so many chokes are small enough for one raise nade to stop an entire push or retake. Map control and baiting utility is key. Speaking of map control, taking A space may seem like a chore in the early game, but a great way the map has changed is having ramp control to be more accessible for attackers. As an example, pistol, bonus, and eco rounds are great ways to exploit the new angles and take space around the A ramp to force defenders back. We recommend smoking the rafters to the box area closer to defenders in spawn and A ramp to go into a fast ropes push into B. This feels almost like a train on course from A main to ramp to ropes to mail and finally to B site when executing this play. This pathing will throw defenders through a loop since when you make the noise for ramp, plenty of B rotators will be caught off guard when you fight them first inside of ropes instead of the A players who may be in rafters in this play. Normally we see this just as a high risk, high reward play, so doing it on a round where close weapons are favored, you should be able to win out with all 5 players in tow. Let the trains to B commence. This is the most standard setup for split plays, since mid control allows you access into both sites. However, the way you take mid control matters in this default, since the goal for your mid control may differ based on what side you are on. For example, defenders putting 3 mid may be around utility dumping mail to prevent a rush or keeping ropes control to stop an A split, while attackers want to focus on baiting this utility and bleeding the defender's slow of any stall utility. Essentially, it turns into a utility trading zone back and forth if both teams are fighting for this space as 3v3. A great counter for attackers to fight a common occurrence like Sage walling mid would be to have your own Sage counter wall play over that contact play to the defender wall. This should catch your opponents off guard when you have 3 players boosting onto a wall fighting ropes or mail to split into either site, forcing site anchors to choose between holding site or rotating to help the surprise attack in mid. For defenders, fighting deep into mid might be a better play than just putting some AWP into ropes or mail to hold the aggro attackers. There is this famous line that goes, "The best defense is sometimes the best offense." So try and get your Raze and Sage set up with flashes into market and fighting deep. Especially something like Raze Rocket is available for an early pick. Something you see a lot in VCT is this taking of space in B main on defense. The reason why is this space is inherently defender-sided when played correctly. Look at it this way. Riot designs tight choke points in areas like B main and mail for defenders to more easily hold, while areas like A main and A ramp have become easier for attackers since the opening up of these spaces. So having a Sage wall, an Omen smoke, or a breach stun on the entryway of B main for attackers can set you up to farm retake ultimates for A with a potential flank fast into an A hit. This also may catch a lurker or be executed in its tracks, allowing your team an early first blood advantage. Be wary however, since taking the space is better done with multiple pieces of utility and people. Solo fighting B main is extremely risky as a defender, even with an operator. This is because attackers usually have the ability to hold the angle for the swing from the spawn barrier. And worse still, spam the peek before it happens with medium pen rifles. This is why having your breach stun the angle so an Omen smoke can be put at the barrier peak can give you an advantage to take the space, which again means you need multiple people to push B main for maximum effectiveness. And that's going to wrap up the guide. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you all in the next one.